Welcome to No Longer Conformed. I'm Erik Garthe, and we are studying Surviving Life, a series based on Genesis 39 and verse 21. In this session, we'll be looking at Genesis 39, verses 6 to 20, overcoming persecution. We live in a world where Christian persecution occurs. Joseph endured a time of persecution during his life that lasted 13 years. Now let's look at our text, beginning with verse 6, the second part of it in Genesis 39. Now Joseph was handsome in form and appearance, and it came to pass after these things that his master's wife cast longing eyes on Joseph, and she said, "Lie with me." But he refused and said to his master's wife, "Look, my master does not know what is with me in the house, and he has committed all that he has to my hand. There is no one greater in this house than I, nor has he kept back anything from me but you, because you're his wife. How then can I do this great wickedness and sin against God?" So it was, as she spoke to Joseph day by day, that he did not heed her to lie with her or to be with her. But it happened about this time when Joseph went into the house to do his work, and none of the men of the house was inside, that she caught him by his garment, saying, "Lie with me." But he left his garment in her hand and fled and ran outside. And so it was, when she saw that he had left his garment in her hand and fled outside, that she called to the men of her house and spoke to them, saying, "See what he has brought into us. See, he has brought into us a Hebrew to mock us. He came in to me to lie with me, and I cried out with a loud voice. And it happened when he heard that I lifted my voice and cried out, that he left his garment with me and fled and went outside. So she kept his garment with her until his master came home. Then she spoke to him with words like these, saying, 'The Hebrew servant whom you brought to us came in to me to mock me. So it happened, as I lifted my voice and cried out, that he left his garment with me and fled outside. So it was, when his master heard the words which his wife spoke to him, saying, Your servant did to me after this manner, that his anger was aroused. And then Joseph's master took him and put him into the prison, a place where the king's prisoners were confined, and he was there in the prison. Joseph was persecuted by his brothers, by a slave master, and, as is outlined in our text, by his master's wife. Eventually, he was even imprisoned. God can help us overcome the challenge of undeserved persecution. We need to find victory, not defeat, in the face of persecution. James chapter 1, verses 2 through 4. My brethren, count it all joy when you fall into various trials, knowing that the testing of your faith produces patience. But let patience have its perfect work, that you may be perfect and complete, lacking nothing. Joseph's life demonstrates sources of persecutions and one source of victory over it. There are many ways persecution may be expressed: verbal, physical, financial, emotional. Let's take a look at Joseph's circumstances. First, persecution can come in the family. Joseph was first persecuted by his brothers. It began as a normal rivalry. His brothers were envious of Joseph's position as their father's favorite son. The envy grew into hatred, primarily of Joseph's dreams that placed him above them. They considered killing him, but instead threw him in a dried well and then sold him to slave traders. Your family may be a source of persecution, maybe even because of your faith in Jesus Christ and commitment to him. Family members may ridicule your beliefs. your church activities, your tithing, your evangelism, your prayers. Assuming you do these things, family members may think evil thoughts or do evil things to you. Second, persecution can come in the workplace. Even though Potiphar, Joseph's master, treated him well, he was still only property. Joseph owned nothing. He could do nothing on his own. He had no authority except that given him by Potiphar. Does any of that sound familiar? Some form of persecution on the job, at school, in your business, because of your faith? You refuse to participate in some illegal or immoral activity. You choose not to cheat on your timesheet as others do. You work hard even when your boss is not watching. You make a stand against participating in gossip. These practices may gain you a negative reputation among coworkers, colleagues, or fellow students. It's because your stand comes from your faith in and your commitment to Jesus Christ. And third, persecution can come in the world. Potiphar's wife presented Joseph with sexual temptation. She lacked morality, was selfish, and had no respect for her husband. She had no respect for Joseph, and she had no respect for Joseph's faith in God. She made false accusations about Joseph. If he had not had moral or spiritual convictions, he would have given in to her immoral demands. Maybe this world has been a source of persecution for you. Christians are frequently portrayed in a negative light in the media. The world comes against Christians who speak out their sin against sin. Abortion, homosexuality are the prime target areas of our day. Paul was run out of town, was beaten, and left for dead, and imprisoned as Joseph was. Even there, God was with them. How did Joseph gain victory over those situations? How can you gain victory over persecution when it comes because of your faith? Victory over persecution is by forgiveness. Joseph forgave those who persecuted him. He demonstrated it in his attitude. The key to survival is to not hold a grudge. Ephesians chapter 4, verse 32. And be kind to one another, tender-hearted, forgiving one another, just as God in Christ forgave you. There are 3 reasons to forgive all those who persecute us. Obedience to God, demonstrating faithfulness to him. To avoid bitterness in relationships with God and others. For the offender, that witness to Jesus Christ be given. Leave judgment and discipline to God. We have instruction for how to respond to persecution. Matthew chapter 5, verses 10 to 12. Blessed are those who are persecuted for righteousness' sake, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are you when they revile you and persecute you and say all kinds of evil against you falsely for my sake. Rejoice and be exceedingly glad, for great is your reward in heaven. For so they persecuted the prophets who were before you. Forgiveness is the standard set by Jesus Christ on the cross when he said in Luke 23:34, Father, forgive them, for they do not know what they do. God created mankind to love him, but they rebelled in sin. He sent his son and allowed him to take our punishment. Are you persecuted in your home, at work, in school? Is it because of your faith in Jesus Christ? How are you handling it? Is there someone you've not forgiven for their actions or words? Who do you need to forgive? You think about all that and you have a great day.